through your freedom.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Literally, folks, we were told it's all about national security and protecting the interests of the United States people. Blah, blah, blah. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, folks. You bet. Apparently, there's an agenda called the Great Reset now. That's where we're at. It's not getting there and building it and stacking things and putting people in positions. It is now, they've pulled the trigger quite literally on the New World Order, the Great Reset. It requires, folks, the greatest calamities possible in order to ensure that the people beg for the solution that the big guys want to give us. And this is the way it always is. This is the way it always is you create or allow or take advantage of a calamity, a crisis, to introduce the ideas that those in power want to see happen. You bet, folks. But we were told, were we not, that we needed to go into Iraq to stop Saddam Hussein and ensure that his designs for, I don't know, whatever, taking over the world were stopped. Right? His troops basically laid down in front of the tanks and said, "Take us, please." Right? There was no threat at all. In all truth, there were no weapons of mass destruction. He was trying to get gold, though. Gold for his oil, but we were told securing the Iraqi oil fields for national security purposes and so that the Iraqi people have an income stream for their nation are key priorities. It was about our national security, serving the people of the United States so that their government, they believe, is doing them the best job possible. Well, here we are, folks, essentially 20 years later from Bush's big push. Right? In 2001, we had the tragedy of 9/11, the end of 2001. And by 2002, they were pushing for war. And it took them a while to build it, but they got there. But it was for national security reasons. And then the Patriot Act was for national security reasons, to protect America and ensure stability for the American people against our crazy enemies. And then the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. It's for the national security and to protect the American people, and it's the patriotic thing to do. 2021, Biden steps into office, newly sworn in El Presidente of the regime, and he cancels our energy independence, cancels hundreds of thousands of jobs and people's lives, canceled our national security with regard to energy, so we have to rely on outside sources. What the heck? Now, they need war, folks. Yeah, energy is a big deal, but war. So what are we hearing? We need to kick the stuffings out of Putin. He's bad. So the Ukraine is now receiving tanks from the Czech Republic. After the reports have come in also that the United States, is also lending support, which we knew was happening. We knew the U.S. is lending support. They're talking about it openly in Congress. Now, what kind of special support, I don't know, but certainly they're trying to offer equipment. And really, folks, the Czech Republic, it's the third most powerful military on the planet, don't you know? Their tanks are second only to the United States' M1A1 Abrams tanks, right? No, not really. I'm sure the Czech Republic tanks are old Eastern Bloc, Russian-built T-71 battle tanks that are old. But they want to give Ukraine what it needs to fight the evil Russians. So let me lay it to you this way. If you saw some bully beating the shit out of a little kid, would you want to, one, stop the fight, tell the other bully, knock that off, let's just be done with this, right? You're beating him up. Or would you tell the little kid, hey dude, keep fighting, don't quit, don't give up. Keep fighting. You can win, really. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. We got your back, man, while we're doing nothing, but keep fighting. That's what's happening with Ukraine. Russia could, at any point, folks, absolutely crush and destroy Ukraine with conventional military tactics and exercise. But conventional military tactics and exercise requires destroying everything, the infrastructure, the power grid, the roads, the bridges, the means of production, economic productivity, and it hurts the civilian population. So Putin's not doing that. I can see this. So obviously the Pentagon and DC and the mainstream media can see it as well. I'm tired. Didn't sleep good last night. And I still figured it all out by myself. I didn't get to stay at a Holiday Inn Express. I'm here at Studio A in the Prepared Mind Network building. So yeah, they're telling this kid to fight the bully. To make things worse, the Czech Republic or Poland or the United States giving the Ukraine idiots, and I hate to call them idiots because they're not idiots. They probably think they're being patriotic. They probably think they're following orders, doing the right thing, and definitely they're getting a paycheck of some sort at some point. They probably think they're doing the right thing by fighting. So I shouldn't call them idiots, but it seems and appears to be idiotic. Because I don't believe Putin wants to take over Ukraine. He wants Zelensky to surrender and sign another agreement called a peace accord to obey specific guidelines set forth. That's what happens when a war is over, folks. You sign a peace treaty and you move on. So not only is the US, the Czech Republic, Poland, the European Union, NATO in general, telling Ukraine, keep fighting, little kid, keep fighting, as the bully's punching him in the head. And then they hand him a stick. That's giving old shitty tanks from the Czech Republic, giving shitty tanks, because I'm sure the Czech Republic isn't giving Ukraine their bestest, newest tanks. I guarantee it. They're like, hey, get some of those rust buckets back there, get them fired up and roll them into Ukraine so they can. They're handing this little kid on the ground a stick and telling him to fight back. So he's like hitting with a little flimsy branch, smacking the bully in the legs as the bully's punching and kicking him, right? He gets his ass kicked longer, harder, and worse because not only is he refusing to quit, but he's now trying to fight back with a stick, right? And so standing around watching this fight is the United States, the European Union, NATO. They're watching, folks, as Russia. They get to call Russia a bully. Look at that big bad bully beating up on that little kid. Well, that little kid was trying to get the US and NATO to kick the shit out of Russia. That's what it was. The little kid was trying to get US, NATO, and the European Union to start bullying Russia even more. And so Russia's like, okay, little kid, you want that shit? I'll beat your ass. And then the US and NATO and European Union are just standing back watching it going, yeah, we got your back, kid. No, they don't. They're afraid of Russia. And they know what they're doing is wrong. Trying to move into Ukraine with NATO. Threatening Russia. The same way we would not like it, folks, if Russia, I don't know, parked its entire fleet of nuclear submarines off the coast of DC and New York and just said, hey, it's cool. Not doing anything wrong. We're just right here with an entire nuclear submarine fleet capped with hypersonic nuclear weapons. So the US and EU and NATO are shouting, bully, bully, bully at Russia for what it has been doing in the fight, while everyone's supposed to ignore the fact that US, NATO, and the European Union are encouraging the little kid to keep fighting. You can win, dude. Keep fighting. Slug away. Everyone thinks you're cool, man. Everyone loves you. Here's a stick. Keep fighting, right? Keep fighting, because no, we don't know. Well, turns out the little kid the little guy that's getting beat up by Russia actually is a rich kid too. And the European Union and NATO and the US, they don't really care about the kid. They just want a part of his money. It's sick, folks. It comes down to money. And the Great Reset. The Great Reset requires war so they can demand change. It requires all kinds of problems, right? So yeah, what do we get? We got war. We got famine. You bet. They need political opponents. And so they need to demonize everybody. The European Union is now targeting even more Russian oligarchs. I'm like, how many do they have? Right? How many Russian billionaires are there? Well, if there's that many, it doesn't sound like one or two control the whole country. It sounds like they have the same thing we have. Numerous corporations with numerous owners controlling the entire spectrum of business in the country. So Russia is essentially what, following the US model? Whatever, right? They're also targeting Putin's daughters. How would the United States feel, folks, if Putin said, you know what? We're going to sanction the children of all of your presidents, all of your political leaders. We're going to sanction them. We're going to target them. We're going to follow them. That's some rotten shit, right? So war and famine. That's kind of like the four horsemen. Death rode out of Armageddon, right? With, war, famine, and pestilence. That's disease. Disease, starvation, and war. Well, we've got our cerveza bug. There's your pestilence. We've got our war. Ukraine, Russia. We've got our famine coming, folks. And in the last video, I described the potash situation coming out of Russia. And here in America, folks, Biden's actions are having a terrible impact on food. And the claim is that the worst is yet to come. And I agree with that claim, right? War is connected to our food supply, as well as our energy and gas supplies. So war and food and war, or rather the problems that come with war and food and war, right? For just the third time in American history, farmers will be planting more soybeans than corn because of the cost of fertilizer. The cost is certainly going to continue to go up, and the rising costs are going to be passed on to consumers. So why should the farmers give a shit what fertilizer costs if the price of the food will compensate them for it? Still, they don't want to pay the money out. Right? Russia, folks, by the way, accounts for 15% of U.S. fertilizer supply, or imports rather. We make our own domestically, and then we import it. So here's a quote, folks, from John Dietrich, a Nebraska farmer. He's growing both corn and soybeans. And he says, we have heard that some farmers have balked at buying at the high prices and have not filled their needs, hoping the prices will go down. Okay, farmers, so you're going to risk getting your crops in the ground when they should, and to harvest before the bad weather comes because you're worried about the cost of fertilizer. I get it, right? But they're planting more soybeans, folks. Soybean is junk. It is junk plant. It is junk protein, and it's loaded with estrogen. Soy is loaded with plant estrogen. Why do we have so many soy boys? Why are boys so effeminate now? Why do we have such a huge LGBT issue? Could it be all the estrogen in our food from all the excess soy, and now they're going to make it even worse, right? Prices, folks, for fertilizer are costing record amounts. And they don't want to plant corn, which requires fertilizer, right? So as a result, 4 million fewer acres this year of corn will be planted. And they're going to increase soybean up. So what food is increased, there's going to be less of it because of no fertilizer. It's going to be a food stuff that is Bill Gates approved. That's right. Bill Gates loves to use soy protein and mix in his disgusto sauce to make Impossible Meat, which is basically yeast puke that tastes like cow blood. And they mix that with soy protein meal, which is loaded with estrogen. And they want to give that to you as synthetic meat, which they need to make cheaper than ground beef or regular chicken. And with the cost of everything going up, see, hogs, chickens, and cows are fed corn, a more expensive food. Even though it's cattle food or livestock food, it's still going to be more expensive, making the price of cow food go up so that soy looks like it's lower. It's more affordable. More people will eat that shit because, folks, that Impossible Meat was more expensive than cow meat. People are like, we're not paying more to get that crap. Well, they're screwing with our food supply, folks. So if we can even afford food, they're going to feed you more garbage. And second world and third world nations are already feeling both the inflation and the shortages of food. So we're going to get shortages, and people won't have any choice but to buy that more expensive garbage, which is going to be less expensive than real meat. That's where we're at, folks. The Great Reset requires this because that's their agenda. War, famine, oh yeah, and pestilence. And death rode ahead of them. Yeah, we've got death coming too, folks. Are you prepared for what's coming? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Are you fully prepared with a plan and being psychologically prepared for the hard times coming? Thank you for supporting the Prepared Mind Network with your contributions through CashApp, PayPal, and of course, Super Chats on the Zoo, and then being on Patreon, folks. That really, really helps. Being on patreon.com at the Prepared Mind for a $2 donation per month. And a lot of you donate there, and we're incredibly grateful for that. You're keeping our mission going, which is to get people prepared, to keep them fully informed so that hard times coming, they'll be ready, because chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed to you all. Semper Fi.